This video explains how to create and interconnect replaceable landscape modules.
Hello and welcome to a video tutorial. In this video we're going to talk about replaceable landscape modules, or well, interchangeable landscape modules is maybe a better term. What it's all about is the possibility to remove and reinstall landscape parts, parts of the landscape. So the advantage with this is obviously that you have a better reach in location. You can make a piece which is removable and you can access things there for re-railing trains and whatever you need to do in that area. But also this landscape module can then be built in another room where you sit by a table and can do all the details properly. So that's the second reason to do this. And the third reason is that you can vary your scenery, from summer to winter, or you can have a themed scenery for Easter, Halloween, etc. So there are some distinct advantages with this. And for me, doing this on daily basis, it's also a matter of adapting to the clients I have wants to show specific things in the landscape scenery. Before getting started, I want to say a big thank you also to you patrons supporting the channel. This is key for the continuation of the channel. And as I mentioned before, first thing I did was to switch off the commercial breaks in the videos, because that's something you can do as a YouTuber. You can switch off the breaks. And that's only possible because you patrons are supporting the channel on monthly basis. Talking about patrons, we're starting off with a message from one of my patrons.
Hello, I'm Jared from Tampa, Florida, USA. I support the Marklinofsweden channel on Patreon at the $20 per month tier. This gives me direct access to chat with Mark and request videos, like the one we're about to see regarding replaceable landscape modules. If you find his videos inspirational, educational, and entertaining like I do, please consider supporting him on Patreon. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerald. This month, my patrons also enjoy discounts. Modellbahn Union, one of the biggest European wholesale houses for model railroad and scenery. Model Railroad 3D, HO scale 3D models for home print. And Creality, 3D scanner order. I have mainly 3 areas with interchangeable landscape or scenery on my layout. And one of them is the main station area, which we see from below here, and the 3 module it consists from. And as said, one of the big advantages is that you can sit by a table making your scenery instead of reaching over the landscape. And I will now show you some of the themes I have created for my main station area. This is the one I use most. It's city front. In this setup I have 2 tracks on the interchangeable side and 2 tracks are permanent. So in total in this setup 4 tracks main station. And then, of course, behind 4-story buildings and kind of city scene with a park to the left. But in most cases I film the trains and then the city scene behind is just blurred distant view. Some years ago I was asked by Noch in Germany to make their Christmas calendar in 24 episodes. And then I created a winter set for my main station area as well, with this beautiful Christmas market as a separate module there. So this is the 3rd area where I have interchangeable landscape. So this was the Christmas market and this is the tracks leading up to the main station. Now the snow you see here is actually powder snow. It is vacuumed away and when I need to add snow I just add it into the landscape. The 3rd one was Lapland. I did work for a Swedish manufacturer of passenger coaches. called H0, and at this time they made sleeping coaches which went up to Lapland, and for this I created this diorama in 3 pieces of Lapporten and the Abisko tourist station far up in the Swedish Lapland. And here are the coaches now passing on the station. In this setup, the station only have 2 tracks, so it gives more room for the scenery behind the station rather than more tracks. And then lastly, for smaller jobs, I have this third area. Here's the Halloween theme I used some years ago. This is a construction site I used for advertisement for Architect. And this module will actually build today. That will give you an idea of how these drop-in modules are made. What I think about when doing them and how they interconnect with the rest of the layout. Let's start by having a look at the Halloween module, this graveyard with the zombies I made some years ago. As you see here, the rear part of the module is taller than the front part. The idea with that is to make the rear less visible, to prevent that the joint between the module and the fixed landscape is visible. The base material for these drop-in landscape modules is 4mm plywood, and I interconnect them using copper tape. This copper tape is sold in my area to prevent snails from crawling into whatever you're growing in your garden. Unfortunately, the snails ignore the copper tape, but I found that the copper tape is very useful instead to interconnect these interchangeable scenery modules with the main electric system. So what I do, I just cut a piece, and then they are adhesive, they have adhesive on the rear side. And then I have a piece of either foam or, well, in this case it was actually styrofoam, which gives a bit of sponginess to this copper tape. So I put one in each end, well separated, to avoid any risk of short circuit. And as said, the rear part of this drop-in module should be elevated. So in this case, since I'm working with this house, which is, by the way, 3D printed from Model Railroad 3D. If you want to build the same house, it's here. You click on the houses here, and then you end up in the parts for the houses. And here it is, Villa Lindstrasse 12, or 12. And you click on that and you end up on CG Trader. And this house with the fence and all the other stuff is only $6. So very affordable for a villa in this style. And construction work, building 3D models is also very similar, but you use fast set glue to join the parts together, and then you paint it using acrylic paints. Now back to our module. We're elevating the rear part of the drop-in module using a styrofoam piece here, which I've cut out both to height and width. If you don't have styrofoam available, you can use plaster. This is a kind of concrete-based putty plaster to fill larger cracks and holes in walls at home. So this is something I found in the DIY store. Locally here in Scandinavia, it's called Husfix, but I would assume that this is available everywhere, but under different names. The advantage is that it doesn't shrink or crack, so you can really build height with this putty without need of adding multiple layers, so you can do it all in one go. I start by spreading the putty over the landscape module like this, just with the mixing stick. And then I use typically 2 plasters, steel plasters, one smaller and one bigger. I put the material on the bigger one and then I use the smaller one to work the putty on the landscape module. So now I'm working on the plate for the house. And once I have it kind of horizontal, I use the large steel plaster here to smoothen the surface. Then after like 40 minutes or so, this plaster it's kind of soft, so you can use your fingertip like this to smoothen the area. Then you don't have to sand all that much. But I anyway sand the driveway. It's thought to be a kind of gravel driveway. Once I feel happy with the sanding, I paint the entire landscape module in brown, except the driveway, which I paint in gray. And all the paints used is acrylic water-based paint. So this is what it looks like at this stage. Everything brown except the driveway and the house in place. Now, the easiest way to make the green stuff is to use turf. And I recommend using 2 blends. One is Earth Blend T50 and Green Blend T49 from Woodland Scenic. This is what they look like. So here we have the Earth Blend, and to the left here we have the Green Blend. This is some kind of grinded sponge in different color. I use PVA glue, that's wood glue, Cola Blanca, for to fix the turf. And I load the turf into old spice cans, and so I can sprinkle the turf into the glue like this. And then I have a round soft brush which I've cut flat, and with this I stipple onto the turf I just powdered over the glued surface. And the purpose with that is to remove that we'll say powdery look, and also to push the turf into the glue so it sticks better. So once I have the green blend in place, I add Earth Blend around the edges of my garden like this. Now, if you have a static grass applicator, the result using static grass is much nicer than turf, of course. They can be combined like we're gonna do now. So what you do, you just load the static grass into your static grass applicator. The applicator is a small investment, but once you have it, you are ready to make turf wherever you like on your layout. So again, I use PVA glue, white glue, Cola Blanca, to fix the static grass, and then I switch the applicator on, and then you see that the grass, it lands standing in the glue and remains standing. However, some of the grass will not remain standing. It kind of leans to the side. So what you can do then is that put a sock over the nozzle of your vacuum cleaner and then vacuum the area. This has 2 purposes. One is to vacuum away the excess grass, of course, but the other one is to raise the grass, which currently is standing, well, let's say in a 45 or 30 degree angle. So this also alters the direction of the grass, so it looks better. Once done, you can put the grass back into the container for another use. And at this point, it looks like this. Now, when I build a new module like this, I keep it simple, but there is one more thing we need to do, and that is to work on both the driveway and the walkway from the house. This needs to be weathered, and for that I'm using pastel chalk powders. I prefer buying the pastel chalk this way, in shape of crayons. Make sure to get dry pastels. And then I grind some off using a scalpel. and application is made using a makeup applicator. So I dip that into a kind of light brown, which looks almost gray when applied here on the dark brown surface. Then I check the dimensions between wheels on the car. So, and then I use the same makeup applicator but in light gray color. So now I've created streaks from the car, but also a more realistic walkway up to the house. Let's now add some details. This is a fence, garden fence, also found in the same set as the villa. So I printed out enough so I could have all around this module. But of course you can print as much as you like. The cost for one fence is very little in terms of resin. And again, I make hole in the styrofoam here, and then I fix it using fast set glue like this. And then it's just to continue all around. The design of the fence is modular, so one part fits directly to the next one, and it looks like one piece like this. So very nice, and this is what it looks like when I've completed the full round around the garden. So now I'm just adding here a patio. So I'm gluing that down using fast set glue 2, just using the same pastel chalk here to get it a bit more dirty, and if it's too much, just remove it with your fingertip. Here's where to put the garbage. This is from another set called Trash and Garbage. And of course, classic oak barrels to collect rain water. Well, now it's time for some more green stuff in the garden. This is bushes. I use light green clump foliage from Woodland Scenic. It looks like this. Comes in pieces, and you can divide the pieces into smaller pieces if you like. So I apply spots of glue, and I push the bushes into those pools of glue. Only thing remaining now is to connect the electric parts, the illumination inside the house, but also this light mast, the street light here in the end of the driveway. So I'm drilling hole for them, feeding the cables through, and then I solder the cables to the copper tape. And the good thing is that it's very easy to solder to the copper tape, and you just fix the cables underneath using masking tape or carpenter's tape. And here's the owner of the house, Bengt. And then, as you see here, when I push the module in place, the street light lights up, while when the copper tape makes connection to the electrical system of the main layout.
All right. So, well, the main object with the interchangeable landscape modules might not be to have a full winter and a full summer scenery, but the advantage to be able to sit down by a table where you have all your tools and the materials and glue and stuff, and prepare the landscape in that way. It's much easier, and the result gets much better, and then snap it in place behind the tracks or whatever, hiding the joint to this landscape module. And also this improves the access to the tracks if you need to re-rail or something like that. So when you're planning your modular railroad, this is something you can keep in the back of your head that if, oh, this seems to like be a hard to reach area, I might have a replaceable landscape module here. And for the same reason, it will be impossible to build a landscape there. But if you have it separate, you can sit by a table and build it. So that's about the interchangeable landscape modules. If you have use for the information provided here on the channel, if you have use for discount coupons and other things which I have on the Patreon, please set up a support account there from $1-2 up to $20 per month, or make a one-off donation using the PayPal dialog found in the video description below. And if you're not yet a subscriber, subscribe to the channel, enable that little bell, and you will get the notification once next video gets published. Until that happens, see you.